I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on Metal Rules, I'm excited to speak with Brian Tatler of Diamond Head for the release of their new album, Live and Electric, due out on July 11th. Brian, welcome. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you, Robert. Pleasure to speak with you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I grew up with Kerrang! Magazine in the 80s, and you guys were always somewhere in there between the cover and articles. So it's amazing to finally speak with you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, we did get some press in Kerrang! Sounds was before that as well, which was more a newspaper
Yeah.
sort of size. But yeah, we did get in Kerrang! We didn't get in as much as Iron Maiden did, but we were in there from
Yeah.
time to time. We never had a front cover, which was a shame.
Oh, okay.
Never
Yeah.
mind.
You know, that was the magazine growing up in New Jersey that you read about all these bands. And then
Right?
you, at that store, you'd read about it and you'd go back the next day and say, and you buy the album. So that was like our internet back in the day. You read it and then you
Yeah.
bought the album.
That's right. Or and read reviews as well.
Right.
But yeah, that's right. No, pre-internet,
That was it.
pre-MTV.
So you got a new live album coming out. It's tremendous. You have a tremendous catalog to pick songs from. Is it challenging to pick songs knowing that you're going to be recorded?
Well, I went with the idea that some of the songs have not been on live albums in the past. I went through the four live albums we've done previously, and I tried to pick some songs that haven't been recorded live,
Yeah.
and try and avoid others that got a lot of attention. You know, we deliberately didn't do "Light Me to the Nations" or "Sucking My Love." Um, or Play It Loud or Streets of Gold. So I picked a few things like Dead Reckoning and Sweet and Innocent and some of the songs from the new album. So it's kind of the big songs, the classics, and songs from the past 10 years, you know,
Right.
the few albums we did with Rasmus.
Yep. No, it's great. Some people might not know that the album was recorded in multiple cities across the UK. Did you record every single show and then have to go back and listen to those performances to pick out the best cuts?
That's what we did. Yes, we recorded. We were on tour with Saxon
Mhm.
as support in 2020. We did about 22 dates in Europe, and then during that tour, we had a discussion about recording the UK dates because we've got the technology now. We can just dump the whole lot onto a hard drive,
Right.
straight from the desk. So it's a lot easier than it used to be back in the day when you had multi-track tape and you'd have to hire a mobile unit and all
Right.
that. It was very expensive. So this way we could record the whole tour and then review it at our leisure, sometime later.
Yeah.
Which is what we did. So we had like 14 versions of Am I Evil and 14 versions of The Prince and that to go through.
Sure.
But because we were only doing like a 40-minute set with Saxon,
Yeah.
we wanted to do more than 40 minutes for a live album. So we wanted to do like 12 songs or something instead of 8. So we started adding. I'd do a different set list, from time to time, and I'd start adding some of the
That's great.
songs that I thought should be on this album, and that's the only way I could figure out to do it really, and it's worked out really well.
So you knew you were going to do a live album before you started the tour, I would imagine, and then modifying a set list to kind of accommodate that goal.
Yeah, when we had that meeting, we decided let's do a live album. We've got the technology. Our front of house guy Jay said we could do it. He was recording us every night, and we didn't, deliberately say we're going to make a live album. We just thought we'll record it, we'll listen to the tapes. If we want to release them, we will.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was that lineup with Raz and Carl, Abs, and Paul, and we thought, it's a really strong lineup. We're on tour. We're very tight. We're it's a great opportunity. We're playing to big crowds. Let's record it and see how it goes and take it from there.
Yeah, I think the sound is tremendous.
Thank you.
It's right in the vocals are in your face, but they do not overpower the guitar. No, and everything is very, very clean. Was that done on site the day of the recording, or is that at the back end with the mixing and the mastering?
It's probably quite a bit of it at the mix, really,
Okay.
because very often live, you're just trying to get the vocal over the back line, and I would imagine that you have to re-EQ things like the drums and compress things to get the mix right. So I didn't do the mix. The mix was done by Jay and Rasmus, and because I mean the younger guys have got better hearing than I have. I've done that many heavy metal shows that I've only got a bit of hearing left, I think. So yeah, I left the mixing up to them. They would send them to me, and for any comments or just to see if I was happy with where it was going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it sounded great, and I would just normally give them the thumbs up or the tiniest of you know improvement if I could think of anything.
Yeah. I thought it was a really powerful album sounding, and it's
Thank
it's
you.
great. Are you a fan overall of live recordings? I know some artists are not really big fans of live recordings. What's your thoughts on it?
I am not really a big fan. I've got some live albums that I really like, uh, but I think a lot of people like live albums more than I do. I often hear people raving about certain live albums,
Yeah,
and I think, I think I prefer live DVDs more,
yeah,
where I can take in the visuals and
me
things
too.
like that. But yeah, we've done. I think this might be the fifth Diamond Head live album, and I think it is a great opportunity to kind of capture the moment and capture that lineup. So this is our first live album for 20 years, and so much has changed in 20 years
Yeah.
with the style and the songs and the lineup. So it was just a good opportunity to capture this once and for all. Lightning in a bottle, as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah, that's great. And there's also probably no nervousness knowing that you're recording multiple shows, that if you screw something up, you got a better opportunity to redo it tomorrow.
That really really appealed to me. We've
Yeah,
never had that opportunity before.
right.
So yes, if you're doing a show and you know it's being recorded, you can stress about it, and it's quite easy to make a mistake and think, oh no, I've just played that bit wrong. But you just on a tour like that, 14 nights, if you did that, you
Yeah,
just think, oh well, never mind, we've got tomorrow. There's always tomorrow.
yeah,
So it's gonna go right at some point. Uh, and and we had the multiple choice of different songs from different shows, so it was great. It's a great way to do it.
you mentioned DVD. You prefer the DVD.
Hmm.
You guys came out with a video for Helpless, alive to
Yeah,
promote this. Did you
yeah,
record any of the shows and video? And will we
we
see a video?
didn't. No, we didn't, because I mean it's quite expensive to do that. You'd have to have half a dozen cameras and
Oh,
cameramen
gotcha.
and then editing facilities. So the reason we have that footage is because each night, I mean, we hadn't got much crew. We'd got our front of house guy Jay,
Mhm.
we'd got a guy who helps set the drums up and break it down, and then we've got a merch girl, and that's it. So what would happen during the show is Jay, the front of house guy, who's got happens to have a really good video camera. He would mix the band, and then come It's Electric, which was pretty much near the end of the set normally.
Mhm.
He would run down to the front with his camera and run into the snake pit, not the snake pit,
Yeah, the pit.
uh, the
Photo pit.
photographer's pit.
Yeah, photo pit.
Yes, and so he'd video the band for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he'd run back to the desk and carry on with the mix. But when we got in touch about footage, and the label said, if you've got anything, and fortunately we got lots of photographs and we got these clips of video. I mean, they're all for the one song. They're all for It's Electric, but
Yeah,
we managed to chop and splice and it fitted Helpless. So yeah.
okay.
Thank goodness we did that, and thank
Yeah,
goodness Jay happened
yeah.
to do it, because we couldn't have afforded to record a whole show.
it was well done and it was fun to watch, So
Yeah,
yeah, I was like, God, I wonder if there's more for this, like later
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Diamond had been around since the 80s. What song still makes the hair on your arms stand up when you're playing live?
Uh, I still enjoy playing Am I Evil. I know
Yep,
it's a big song, but
my
it's
favorite.
got great dynamics to it, and I still really enjoy it. You can always see the crowd kind of lift a little to that song. That's the one that's going to get them, if anything. Uh, I still enjoy playing Heat of the Night live. So yeah, yeah, they're fun to play. They're written. I co-wrote all the Diamond Head songs. Pardon me, and they normally start live as a riff, and so they're fun to play for me. Trying to come up with good riffs and things. So yeah.
That's great. Helpless and Am I Evil, strong connection to Metallica. They did those covers. Um, when they approached you back in the 80s, they were just kids. You guys were starting out. What was your take on being asked for another metal band to cover your songs?
Well, we knew Lars because he'd come over and he was a fan. He'd
Mhm.
stayed with me, he'd stayed with Sean, he'd come to gigs with us in the car and all that. And so, because it was Lars and he asked, we're going to cover Am I Evil for this Creeping Death 12-inch single.
Right.
We all just thought, yeah, great. We didn't have a problem with it, of course.
Yeah.
And we were very flattered that they did such a good job. They sent a copy over. It was on Music for Nations back
Mhm.
then. And we were impressed. We thought that they've really done it, done their homework. They've learned the solo correctly. And it was just really good, really respectful version. And also, Metallica are the first band ever to cover Diamond Head. Crazy.
How could you say no, right?
Exactly. Lars's band. Let's help him out.
Did you see a spark in the band that you said, well, this is going to be something very positive?
I didn't know. I didn't have a clue.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of bands, and I would know people in bands all the time, musicians, uh, and you don't expect a guy to come to a gig who's like 17 or something
Right.
to become the biggest heavy metal band of all time. I had
Right.
no idea. Uh, who knew? Back in the day, if anybody could have predicted what they would have achieved, I think it would have been incredible. At first, I mean, they were quite a rough sounding,
Yeah.
they called themselves a garage band, didn't they?
Yep.
So they didn't have their sights on world domination, I don't think. It wasn't like they were trying to be like Kiss or, AC/DC or something.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The Metallica story, the rise to the top, is a phenomenal story,
Oh yeah. I just saw them Memorial Day weekend. I guess that's the end of May,
right?
Philadelphia. What a great show they put on. It was true.
Yeah, they're great. It's a great band, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not just, I mean, it is a big show, but underneath it all, they're great players and they've got great songs.
They do. They do. You know, it's also had an interesting effect on Diamond Head. I guess they covered like four of your songs, and now it's coming back in spades to you guys as kudos to
Yeah.
Diamond Head and the reference. They talk in the press about the influence you had on them. Excuse me. So people are going back and listening to your albums,
Yeah.
for more of those songs. So it's got to be a very inspirational moment for you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Full circle.
The fact that they've covered, as you say, four Diamond Head songs has been incredible. Um, I think it's helped us no end for the past 30 odd years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've name checked us in interviews hundreds and hundreds of times. So at some point, a Metallica fan is going to think, who's this band that Lars keeps banging on about, Diamond Head? And then they may, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, I got into Diamond Head through Metallica. But that's fine, isn't it? As long as you get there, it doesn't matter how you get there.
No, that's a great
Um,
point of view. As long as you get there, it doesn't matter how you
yeah,
got there, as long as you get there.
it's just the thing with cover versions, isn't it? Occasionally, you hear a band's song, and then you think, oh, I wonder, did they write that?
Yeah.
And you find out, no, it's a cover version. I thought Kiss's version of God Gave Rock and Roll was brilliant. And I used to like the Argent version, but
Yeah.
I think they did a fantastic cover. And
They did.
so
They did.
it's in a way it helps the people that influenced. Like, we are obviously influenced Metallica, but it's helped us no end in, not like you say, kudos, but also financially, and bringing in potentially a much bigger audience than we could have pulled on our own.
Right.
So yeah, it's only really, really positive.
And I think you had the opportunity to even play on stage with Metallica a couple of times, right? Some of the songs.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yes,
neat.
I've got up on stage with them maybe 5 or 6 times
Right,
over the
right,
years. But first time was in '86 at the Birmingham Odeon, when they on the Masters of Puppets tour,
right.
and I got to play with Cliff Burton,
Wow.
uh, and not many people could say that. Yeah,
No.
so we did Am I Evil at that show, and then like a week later, Cliff was killed in the coach crash, which was
Yeah.
terrible, but so bizarre for me to read that. I've just met the guy and
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
been killed. So yeah, but we did the 30th anniversary. We've done the NEC with them. We've done. I did that show in Norway recently, where we played Am I Evil, the full version
Yeah.
at Tons of Rock. So fantastic. Every now and again I get a call from Lars.
That's awesome. That's all. You have them on speed dial. I have to wonder, is this live LP a goodbye gift to the fans for Diamond Head? Will we
I'd
see?
not thought of it like that, but hopefully not. We've got no plans to stop. At the moment, as you can probably imagine, I'm busy doing Saxon.
Yep.
Saxon's a very busy band.
Yes.
So not only are we doing all the shows, but we're also trying to write for the next album, the next Saxon album, which will come out end of next year.
Okay.
So a lot of my time is taken up with Saxon, and Diamond Head is on a sort of hold hiatus. But it's fortunate that we recorded those shows, and we've been able to put them out, and it's something for the fans who may having a bit of withdrawal about not seeing Diamond Head
Yeah.
for a couple of years. The last gig we played was in June, I think, 2023. So it's been about 2 years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a stopgap. Keep everyone going for a bit.
I have to wonder. Saxon's one of my favorite bands. Again, learning
Okay.
about it in Kerrang, picking them up, denim and leather. You know, of course, I've been a fan. I've seen them countless times. I haven't seen them with you yet, and I hope when they come back to New York and New Jersey, I could see them with you. What was the audition process for Saxon? I know that you opened up for them. I'm sure you were friends with them, but did you have to physically audition?
No, which is
That's good.
very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. No, I first of all I was asked if I'd dep for Paul Quinn when he had COVID in
Okay.
2022. They had a festival in Wales called Steelhouse.
Mhm.
So I said yes immediately and began learning the set. And then it turned out Paul didn't. Uh, Paul was okay for the gig, so he was able to do the show, and he didn't need me. But I thought that's interesting. If they've called me,
Yeah.
to dep for Paul, so I thought that's interesting. If they ever need me again, if Paul could get COVID again. And then I started thinking, what if Paul's ever going to leave, or
Yeah.
something? Because he's I think he was 71 when he retired. So I thought if they ever asked me to take over, what would I say? And I thought about it, and I thought, yes, I would definitely do it. I thought it would be a fantastic opportunity. So when I did get the call, some 6 months later, in March of 2023,
Mhm.
they just asked me, would Paul's leaving, Paul's retiring, would I be interested in taking over and fulfilling all the dates we've got, etc., etc. And I immediately said yes.
That's great.
And that was that. That was that. So then it's just learn the set, and we arranged a couple of rehearsals before the first show, which was in Athens.
They have some great songs. One of
Yeah,
my favorite all time bands. Prince, Princess of Night, all those great stuff. What a great album. It's
Yeah, it's great songs to play
yeah,
live. A lot of them, I think, are written to be played live
yeah.
and are very exciting and got a lot of built-in energy.
Anything you really love playing? Any song that really drives you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing Motorcycle Man.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I just think it's got a great riff and the way it turns around on a one and then a two. It always interested me when I used to listen to it back in the day. I thought, how does that riff go? How does that work like that? Because it felt like, it landed in an unusual place. And
yeah,
then where the vocal comes in, it's an unusual place to put the vocal. But yeah, I love playing that one. I love playing 747 as well.
that
And
too.
there's some great songs in the set. It's fun every night.
I think Denim and Leather is still one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
enjoy that.
Power and the Glory. I
Yeah.
I think I've heard it only once or twice when they've come around, but that's one of my all-time favorites. We used to cover it in the band
Okay.
growing up.
Yes, yeah, it's great to play. It's
Yeah,
quite a lot of fast down picking. I have
yeah,
to I
yeah.
have to get my right hand going for that one.
And thank God they're always putting out new albums. They did the cover albums, they did original albums, and
Yeah.
the live album they got coming out. So that's
It's 24 studio albums,
yeah,
which is a hell of a lot. Not many bands could claim that. It's a hell of a lot of albums. They're very, prolific and hardworking, and Saxon got a very loyal following,
right.
which helps keep the momentum and the band going. So
You
yeah,
always
it's great.
friends? Were you always friends with them growing up in the 80s? I mean, I would imagine UK is a small place and you're running into each other all the time.
Well, we would run into each other at festivals, and we've definitely met up at the airport a couple of times, or airports.
Mhm.
We also both did. Biff and I and Sean did the 30th anniversary of Metallica's, show in San Francisco at the Forum, and we met up then. Biff did Motorcycle Man, and we did the four songs I've covered. So yes, we've got to know each other over the years. We've been lower on the bill to Saxon, of course, but it's all good. With
Yeah,
mutual respect. Anybody that can keep a band going for 45, 50 years, it's hard.
yeah.
That's really hard.
Him and
So
Nigel must be really good friends.
I've got a huge amount of respect
Yeah.
for the band, because it's not an easy gig to keep a band going for
Yeah.
that kind of time.
My last question, I want to be respectful to your time, is I know that original band members, it's been many, many years since they were in Diamond Head. Has there ever been consideration to having them do like an album with their songs, or putting something together, revisiting, not a reunion, but maybe more or less just coming back and each doing a song and doing an album of the original Diamond Head members?
Probably not. It was only myself and Sean really who wrote. So
Okay.
Duncan and Colin didn't really write, or they might have contributed the odd little idea. But we did an album. Sean and I did an album in 2002, but
Mhm.
it's never been released. And it was a real shame. We paid for it ourselves. Then he didn't want to call the band Diamond Head anymore. When we had some problems, and in the end, I had to move on without him. Really, we had to look for another singer because it was just getting nowhere. It's a real shame, but every now and again, it crosses my mind to, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. But the other guys, Colin and Dunk, I mean, Colin pretty much quit the music business when he left the band, and now he don't want anything to do with Diamond Head,
Wow.
and he don't even want to sign autographs really.
Wow.
And Duncan had a stroke,
Oh, really? I
and
didn't know that.
he can't really play anymore. His arm, his arm went dead,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think he'd struggle now to do an hour show.
I get it. I get it. Well, listen, Brian, I'm so excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much. It was so insightful and interesting. So thank you again for your
Thank
time.
you. All right. Thanks, Robert.
And I'll see you when Saxon comes around.
Yes, indeed. All right. Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye.